Alright, welcome back to Keith 60 Hotshot Adventures. Previous video I probably put up was an oil change. Talked about doing brakes. So we're starting on the rear because that's where we started. Get your tires off, 22 millimeter. Use an impact in my case. Go ahead and get off your, to get your rotors off, you'll have to take off your caliper bracket there. That was a 21. That's what I use, a stubby. Use a breaker bar and a ratchet there. If you got a stubby impact, I just didn't bother grabbing it. You could zip it off probably that way with a flex socket or something. Got that all off. I still have to press in the now you can't really see it, the pistons. I still have to compress those. And then after that, to get the rear rotor off, it's a little more involved. Depending on your Ram, you got to get the parking brake system released. If you're lucky, yours will just come off. But I use my parking brake on the regular, so I had to pop out that. Let's get you back in here for a minute. That lives in there. That shiny thing is where my screwdriver is, how you adjust up and adjust down the shoes to go out or in. I had to go that way up to release it, and then when I put the new rotor back on, I'll have to go towards me. I'll have to go down. I have to ratchet it this way. I guess if that makes sense. So yeah, I just used a screwdriver. It was kind of stuck. So I just stuck a screwdriver in there on one of the little teeth, and I tapped it upward this direction. And that got it released. And then I kept doing it until it was enough. Till the obvious, I was able to pull off the rotor. So here is factory rotor. These are the rear brakes. And as you can tell, they're basically brand freaking new. But I don't care, I already spent the money and got new rotors and pads. So they're going on. Here are the Detroit axle rotors, drilled and slotted. I know sometimes people complain about packaging. My packages are messed up, whatever. It's about 88 pounds. It said something like that on the box. It's at least 80 pounds of steel in a thin box. I mean, depending on who ships it and the shipper and how much they toss it around, what do you want? That's a lot of weight in a tiny piece, in a thin cardboard box. It's the best they can do, unless they send it in basically a like a wood crafted crate, which will still probably end up damaged, of course, because that's how shipping ends up. But anyways, enough for the shenanigans there. I'm gonna go ahead and swap these out, slide that back on. I gotta grab some brake cleaner. I always spray my brakes, make sure there's no shipping oil that they put on them to make sure they don't rust. Whatever they make these rotors out of, they're very good at not rusting. Fellow YouTuber Steve Miller, CP Steve Miller, he runs them on his Cummins. And even if they sit overnight in a rain, if you ever look at your rotors, most people never do, you'll notice they flash rust a little bit. That's why when you sometimes in the morning you get that really grippy and you get like jerk stopped. It's because they flash rusted and it gave you that momentary, very high grip on your brakes, and that's why you get that sudden jerk. So we're gonna go ahead and do that quick check there. We're gonna slap them back on and do the other side. And then, depending on how the day goes, we'll do the front. And the front is where I get a lot of squeaking. And it's been annoying, and I've been planning on doing this. So here we are. We're working on it. It's a 3-day weekend, Memorial weekend, and I'm a workaholic, so this is what I do. This is my fun time. This is, for me, my fun time is working on stuff and spending money. All right. Okay, and somebody's going to notice, so I'm just going to throw this up there. When you put the rotor on, you're going to notice that your slots and your holes look one way. So if I were to put this one on this side, you notice the slots are going two different directions. And no, it does not make a difference. I would have to do some Googling and some homework. But to the best of my knowledge, it makes no difference. What makes the difference is if your fins of the actual rotor here, if these were actually angled in any sort of way, and these are not, these are straight. So if these were somehow flared one way or the other, then that would make a difference. But to the best of my knowledge, it does not matter what direction they go on. So, and because I'm OCD, I'm going to put them on this way. Next. Alright, passenger side. Anyways, I guess we're going to call this like a just rear brakes video, and we'll just do a front brakes video anyway. Yeah, so these are dual piston calipers. And if you try, because you're going to have, because depending on how worn out your brakes are, your piston's going to be out of the cylinder. You're going to have to compress it back in. I don't have the proper tools, so I just use a really big pair of those. And I'll flip this up here and set it on top. And then I'll take a old brake pad. I'll sit it in there, so it's against both pistons. And then I'll open up those channel locks, and then I'll squeeze as hard as I can and recompress them. You can also use a C-clamp if you would like. Just go nice and slow. Timbrins. They work great, but they're... I probably would have, if I probably did it again, I probably would go with the yellow 2,800 pound Sumo springs. These are great. The truck basically does not sag at all when I put a load on it. Once these touch, there's no sag. It sits level, and that's it. It doesn't matter how much weight I've put on this, it just sits level. I also don't have a leveling kit or anything. Back to the topic. Internal parking brake. It is on the top in there. Sorry. It is in there. I don't know if I can get you there. Pull that out, which was fun. Actually, that was the easy part, right? And then I had to go find a small screwdriver, like this, because the one I was using, those, difference in size, were too big to get in there to move the adjuster. And so I got the adjuster moved on this side. I believe it was this way. Anyways, but got it off. Got the new one back on. Re-clicked it back up. I probably needed some more adjustment, but it's good for now. There is probably a torque spec for the caliper to bracket little nuts. These are 13 millimeter heads. And those, like I said, were 21 millimeters. I didn't look up torque spec. I just tightened the snot out of them. They're probably around 100 foot-pounds easily, if not more, probably more. So I just tightened up as tight as I could and just called it a day, because that's what I did. That's what I always do. I just tighten them up. Good to go. Now I'm going to throw the tires back on, torque the lug nuts, and the rear is done. Thanks for joining on this boring video. And last but not least, the direction, again, doesn't matter because it's these things here. These are called vanes. I looked it up. And as long as they are straight, it makes no difference which way these go. I watched a video from Power Stop and one from, like, I think Detroit Axle on another site, and they all say it's all based on the way the vanes are going in here. Then it makes a difference. Otherwise, and if that's the case, for the most part, they will be stamped or somehow labeled which side they go on. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. And the next video will be front brakes.